Good morning, everyone.
Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning.
Okay, it's 10 o'clock, and I'd like to call the Health Related Institutions Formula Advisory Committee meeting to order. Thank you all for joining us this morning. I'm Michael Tremonti from UT Health Science Center at Houston, and I am the committee chair. Please be advised that the meeting is being broadcast over the internet and recorded, so I would ask all attendees to silence your cell phones. Also, since we're meeting via Zoom, please mute your connection until you're ready to speak to prevent background noise. Thanks. So let's go ahead and begin with the roll call. Ms. Berger, if you would do that for us.
Of course. All right. We'll begin with Dr. Chase. Ms. Gomez-Leon.
Present.
Mr. Wahardo.
Present.
Ms. Harkey.
Here.
Ms. Harms.
Present.
Dr. Lang.
Good morning. This is Jessica Fisher. I'm listening in on behalf of Dr. Ling.
Thank you. Mr. Lewis.
Present.
Ms. Marin Hill.
Present.
Dr. Maureen. Dr. Maureen. Mr. Miller.
Here.
Ms. Nace.
Here.
Ms. Shear.
Here.
Mr. Tremonti is with us, and Ms. Withers. Ms. Withers. Okay. We're only missing 3 folks today.
Okay. So that we do have a quorum, and we'll go ahead and move forward. The first item on the agenda is the approval of minutes. Mr. Guajardo, if you would lead that.
Morning, everybody. We sent out the minutes late last week. Is there any discussions about the minutes? Okay, if not, is there a motion to approve the minutes?
I move to approve.
Okay, thank you. Jenny, is there anybody, a second?
Second.
Okay, well, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. The motion passes. Our next order of business is the discussion of charges, and I'll turn it back to our chair. Thank you, Mike.
Okay, thank you. So I guess to start with, before we jump into the charges with the work groups, I did want to touch on some of the, I guess, charge one. First and foremost, if we do nothing else, we need to have charge one addressed. Not that we won't have to have the other charges addressed, but we did send out last session's report that the committee had compiled and had presented to the coordinating board, and it was accepted and brought forward. Not a lot of success, but still, it was a victory having it brought forward. The approach we've taken, and we've touched on this a little bit, was different last time than what we've had in the past. And in that, we look backwards to the original base rates, and our desire was to move back toward that base rate, which is 11,000 plus. per FTSE. The case we made is there's no really reason to look backwards. Let's look at the here and now. Let's look at what's happened. And inflation, of course, at the time was very real, continues to be very real. And so the thought there was that we would apply an inflation adjusted rate to the base rate for our recommendation. We chose fiscal year 2019 as sort of our base rate, largely because the previous session from, I guess, 18, 19, there was probably a low point in the last half dozen years or so. And so we really wanted to go from that point forward. Ms. Berger, if you would share that one graphic that you'd shared earlier.
Yes, one moment. And I also wanted to acknowledge, I understand Ms. Withers has joined us, so I've
Great.
shown her as present. Great.
Great.
All right, let's see here. Is this the slide you were interested in?
That is the slide. So
Okay.
as you can see, we hit a bit of a high water mark in 2016-17 of 9,829. It then in the next session dropped to 9,431. We had a slight uptick in the subsequent bienniums. It remained flat after that, and then we had a slight uptick, primarily due to, I think, some FTSE reductions between the initial calculation and the final enrollment numbers. So literally, very little to no change over the last half dozen years. And so I wanted to, I guess, first get everyone's take on, should that be the approach we use for this next report? I think it again was very black and white as far as we were using the consumer price index as the driver for it, so it was easy to substantiate. And so let me pause for a moment and open it up for comments. Certainly open to other ideas as well.
So Mike, I think that I really like this approach because it is a mathematical approach. We did use, and for many years tried to get back to at least the 11,776, back in that range, but we were able to accomplish the same recommendation through that CPI. So I like taking this level of approach.
Okay.
I would agree with Penny. I thought it was a very good approach, and CPI is on everybody's mind right now. So I think it's a very real impact to our institutions, and tying it to that, I thought it was a good approach last year, and I was supportive in continuing with that approach.
Okay.
Agree on this end too.
Great. So we did also use, as opposed to look at a regional approach for CPI, we did use the U.S. City Average Medical Care Index. Would we like to continue that approach as well?
Mike, this is Angelica. I certainly liked that approach, but I imagine there's been an update since we looked at it a couple of years ago. Would it be worth looking at the U.S. cities average versus?
We certainly can. We can go, much like we did last time. We pulled a variety of different indexes and looked at which ones were the most appropriate. We can certainly do the same. That's something that would make sense. I think what we'll see and this is a guess on my mind, is on the medical care index, there may actually have been a little bit of a dip in the index between right now and maybe the high points of COVID, just because of some of the wage issues everybody was contending with on the healthcare front. But certainly we can, let's pull the various indexes as we did, and we'll get the committee to agree to that. With that in mind, is everyone comfortable staying with FY 2000, the fiscal year 2019 as the base, since that somewhat was the floor?
Yes, on my end.
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
great. So if I can have a motion to move forward with an inflation adjusted recommendation. The CPI in particular will be determined, but at least with a fiscal year 2019 as a base. So
So moved.
okay, thank you, Penny. Do I have a second?
Second, Jenny.
Great. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed, same sign. Okay, hearing none, we will move forward with that approach. We have, I appreciate everybody getting in their committee or work group recommendations or desires. We have, it worked out actually very nicely in the way the number ones and twos came about. We were able to accommodate everybody's first or second choice. Malia, would you go ahead and take that slide down? Thank you. And so we did send that out to everyone. I sent a draft this morning. I apologize for sort of the 11th hour on that. We did look as we made up the work group assignments, again, not only what you had requested, but also a little bit of a balance between new members and older members, or excuse me, not older, more experienced members. I think there was a good mixture all the way across. We have made recommendations for work group leaders too. What you will see or you may have determined, Kristen Nace and I are not on the working groups. We'll certainly be a resource to each of the working groups, as well as Melita Berger will. We will focus on charge 1 and charge 4, bringing forward that to the committee for consideration. And so we won't be sitting on our hands while y'all do the heavy lifting. But certainly these 3 charges in particular are very important this go round. And when we chatted a little bit about timetable, we were thinking that we really would need the working group to come forward with their recommendations by mid-November. And in that way we can have the late November meeting to consider it. And I think there's a meeting scheduled in December if need be, but that gives us a little time to put together the document. So again, we're asking that these work groups would certainly bring forward their recommendations in a timely fashion. However, there is no penalty for being early. If you'd like to get your recommendations in by mid-October, feel free. So with this, again, the document we sent out was marked draft because we didn't want to just lock everybody in and just say this is the way it is. Is there any issues with what we brought forward? Any concerns? And are there any recommendations for change? And I guess lastly, well, I'll stop there before I give you multiple questions to address. Is everybody comfortable with the working group breakdowns? Okay, I see a lot of nodding heads. Ms. Fisher, if you could share with Dr. Lang, I'd appreciate it. Unfortunately, he didn't, he is assigned without a lot of, I didn't get any feedback from him. Hopefully this will be something he feels very important, and we'll be engaged in that conversation. Let's see. So if everybody is comfortable with that, again, let me ask the work group leaders. Will you accept your assignment as work group leaders? Tomas?
Happy to.
Okay. Penny?
Yes.
Thank you. And Michael?
Yes.
Thank you. Okay, again, these are very, I look back at the prior biennium's report and realized how easy a lift we had last go round in comparison to this year. So this will be very important as we bring forward the report. Before, I guess, as we go into the next agenda topic, is the next meeting. We are scheduled for a meeting on September 27th. And as we discussed, the value of having an in-person session, we will be doing that. There is a new, if you're not familiar, I was not, the coordinating board is in a new site. So we'll make sure we send the directions and the meeting site. There will be an option for remote attendance, but certainly we are encouraging in person. The idea would be is the first part of the meeting would be the general meeting that we would be covering things to that point. I would think we'd probably have a good draft on charge one by then. But the idea then would be to adjourn and break into the work groups and allow the work groups to actually have an in-person, in-session meeting to at least kick things off. So that's certainly my recommendation. However, again, I appreciate the committee's feedback on this.
That sounds good, Mike.
I think it's a good idea.
Mhm.
Okay, great. Okay. So Melita, I see that Dr. Maury has joined us as well.
Yeah, Mike, you can call me Mike. And I joined a little late. I apologize, Mike.
Nope, not a problem. We're long on mics this time around. It's never fails. There's always one group. Okay. This is going to be obviously a real brief meeting just to try to get the housekeeping sort of in order and set the direction. So,
Mike, may I ask a
Yes.
question? This may be a really dumb question, but when we say on-site meeting, but where is it on site? Where is the location?
So Emily, would you mind providing that information? Because it's a really good question.
If you want to chime in.
Sure. So our new location is at 1801 Congress. It's a new building, the George Bush building, but we'll actually probably be meeting at the Barbara Jordan building, which is very near. So it's near the Capitol in Austin. And of course, we'll send out more specific information and directions and all that for parking.
Great. Okay. So no, good question. Okay. Any other items for consideration or direction? Oh, I did have one clarification. I apologize. On charge 4, we initially I had mentioned the alignment of the I&O small school with the infrastructure formulas, and it actually was a little bit more in depth. Our charge is to actually come forward with a recommended definition of that, and so that's something that we'll work to draft and bring forward to the committee for wordsmithing and editing purposes. And the idea would be, again, to have something that probably crosses formulas from a definitional standpoint. Absent that, I think that is probably all the housekeeping and cleanup that we have along those lines. So is there, before we wrap up, again, any last comments?
Just a quick comment on the charge number 3. This is a collaboration with the general academics. And so do we know who their lead is on that and pass that information along as well?
We do, and we certainly can pass that information along. I think I'm assuming that initially the two subgroups will work in sort of in parallel paths. However, and it just I guess it makes a lot of sense. There are a lot of overlap in membership between the institutions. I think your counterpart on the academic is serving on that work group as well. And so I think that there's, Emily because there was somebody from North Texas, somebody from Tyler?
Yeah, Emily, I don't recall exactly who those work group members are.
Emily, you're on mute.
Sorry about that. Emily Deardorff from UNT System is the chair. Susan Brown from UTRGV academic portion is on there. Noelle Sloan from Texas Tech, and then President James Hurley from Tarleton State. And Mike, we can share all the contact information with you for that group.
Great. So that will be, probably a good opportunity for some cross collaboration across the two formula funding advisory committees. But it certainly would be nice if we were in agreement with recommendations. However, time will tell. Okay. If that's all, I make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, thank you for being here and I promise that the meeting on the 27th will go a little longer than 24 minutes. So I appreciate everybody logging in. Thanks a lot.
Thank you, Mike.
Thanks all.